Hi everyone, and welcome back to Genealogy and Decoding Your Y-DNA, a series about how Y-DNA testing can help us explore our paternal lines. My name is Jeremy Lehman, and I am a genealogist who loves weaving DNA into family history research. In this video, we'll be discussing how to understand changes to your Big Y block tree. One of the best features of taking a Big Y test is that your results can update over time. Your results do not end when you get your initial results. As more Big Y testers test and enter the Big Y block tree, your own results can change, reflecting updated information gleaned from these new testers. Let's take a look at the types of changes that can occur, using my Lehman and Landau Big Y block trees as examples. One of the most exciting changes that can occur is when your own terminal haplogroup is refined. This happened to me in my own Lehman line. When I first upgraded to a Big Y test in 2021, I was assigned to the terminal haplogroup of GFTA 54806, which dates to 1250 CE. This meant that my closest Big Y tester in Family Tree DNA's database was a connection dating back over 750 years ago. I have to admit, I was disappointed with these results. As a genealogist, I was hoping to find connections within a genealogical time frame. But fast forward just a few years later, and my Big Y block tree looks quite different. In the ensuing years, I was able to find a distant Lehman male relative who graciously agreed to take a Big Y test. And his results left no doubt that we are cousins. The two of us share 6 additional mutations that no other Big Y testers share with us. These 6 mutations represent my new terminal haplogroup, located downstream of the upstream haplogroup of GFTA 54806. Family Tree DNA chose one of the mutations, GFT 37500, to represent the group of 6 mutations that mark my new terminal haplogroup. Our most recent common ancestor dates to 1791, over 500 years later than my previous Big Y connection. With just one additional tester, my results were transformed. Not only was my terminal haplogroup refined, but I was able to provide strong scientific proof of my descent from the Lehman family. The power of having 2 Big Y testers cannot be understated. You will be able to refine your haplogroup and learn a lot more about your line in the process. The key, though, is to find the most distantly related male relative along the paternal line that you are studying and have that person tested. In my Landau family, I have been fortunate to test 5 individuals over the past few years, which has allowed me to refine the terminal haplogroup a few times. In early 2021, when there was just one Big Y tester, his terminal haplogroup was RBY71944, which has a most recent common ancestor dated to 1400 CE. Like my Lehman line, this was too far back in time to make genealogical connections. But this changed when I was able to recruit a second Landau tester. His results showed an additional set of 5 mutations that he shared with the first Landau tester. And in this process, their terminal haplogroup was refined to RFTB 1098, with a most recent common ancestor estimated at around 1700 CE. Like with the Lehman example, having the second Big Y tester in my Landau family led to important discoveries. I was then able to expand on this research with 3 additional Landau testers. This allowed for the Landau family terminal haplogroup to be refined 2 additional times. One tester has the terminal haplogroup of RFTB 5367, which is immediately downstream of RFTB 1098. And 3 out of the 5 testers now have a terminal haplogroup of RFTB 41429, located even further downstream. For those 3 testers who are a part of RFTB 41429, they share a most recent common ancestor estimated at 1800 CE, and are more closely related to each other than to the other 2 Landau testers. Surname studies such as this can allow you to identify multiple subclades associated with different branches of a family. Updates to the Big Y block tree can also come to upstream haplogroups. New Big Y testers can break up blocks of upstream mutations to help clarify the order that these mutations emerged. A good example of this is found in my layman Big Y block tree. Back in 2021, in an adjacent branch, there was a set of 3 mutations, headed by the GZ45087 mutation. When we look at the block tree today, those 3 mutations have been broken up into 2 groups. A set of 2 mutations headed by GFTA 48986 and a downstream subclade of GZ45087. A new Big Y tester happened to share 2 of the 3 mutations, which allowed family tree DNA to determine that GZ45087 was the last of the 3 mutations to emerge. This example serves as a good reminder that when we see a set of mutations, we cannot infer their order of emergence. This can only be determined by new Big Y testers that break up a block of mutations. Another example of this process can be seen with my Landau Big Y block tree. Back in 2023, there was a block of 5 SNPs associated with the Landau line, headed by the RFTB 1098 mutation. But today, this block of mutations has been broken up by a new Landau Big Y tester, who connects to the other Landau testers at an earlier point in time. There is now one group of 4 mutations that remains headed by the RFTB 1098 mutation, and a second located downstream with the RFTB 5367 mutation. Thanks to this new Landau tester, we now know that RFTB 5367 was the last of the 5 mutations to have emerged. And that mutation's emergence can even be tied to a specific Landau ancestor, which is pretty cool. So we've seen how new Big Y testers can lead to the emergence of new downstream haplogroups, or can help clarify upstream haplogroups. We can also anticipate future changes based on the current state of a Big Y block tree. With my layman Big Y block tree, I can look to refine my haplogroup further by finding a closer layman relative to test. I have 4 private mutations, and my haplogroup would be refined if any of them match a closer layman relative. I could also look to break up the set of 6 mutations that currently characterize my layman line by finding a more distant relative to test. This, however, will be difficult for me. I have hit a brick wall with my layman family research, and I can't identify any more distant relatives to test. So, in all likelihood, I will need to wait until a new Big Y tester appears and breaks up this block of mutations. If this were to happen, this tester would connect with me sometime between 1250 CE and 1791 CE. We can also anticipate future changes for my Landau big Y block tree. I have been able to trace back this paternal line about 500 years to 1500 CE. And according to my research, the Landau family previously had the surname of Brandeis. By testing a male line descendant from this Brandeis family, I hope to break up the current block of 4 mutations headed by RFTB 1098. I would expect that such a descendant would share some, but not all, of these 4 mutations. The ones that are shared with the Landau testers would represent older mutations, and the ones that are not shared would represent newer mutations that emerged after the Landau branch separated from the Brandeis family. This research is important for a few reasons. First, it can provide scientific support for the claim that the Landau and Brandeis families are connected. It also can provide a detailed look at what this Brandeis lineage looked like at a specific point in time, when the two Landau and Brandeis branches most recently shared a common ancestor. And it can provide useful information to big Y testers in adjacent branches, whose paper trails do not extend as far back as the Brandeis family. These testers could get a more precise estimate for when they connect with the Landau and Brandeis testers. I hope that I will have the opportunity to further this research in the coming years. We can also anticipate the emergence of new subclades from an upstream haplogroup by looking at a big Y block tree. A good example of this is found in the Landau big Y block tree. There are currently 3 big Y testers who have the upstream haplogroup of RBY71944 as their terminal haplogroup, dated to 1400 CE. This means that these 3 testers do not have the mutations of the 2 main subclades of RBY71944, which are depicted to the branches to the left. This is akin to the situation of my Landau family when there was only 1 tester. We would expect, though, that as new big Y testers appear on the big Y block tree, that a new subclade will form within RBY71944, where at least 2 of these ungrouped testers will share a previously private variant with each other. For those testers, the emergence of a downstream subclade will refine their haplogroup. As more testers are placed in the upstream haplogroup of RBY71944, the chances increase that at least 2 of these testers will see their haplogroup refined. We have covered a lot of ground in this video. I love that the big Y block tree continues to evolve as new testers are added to the tree. The journey of discovery only begins when you receive the results of your big Y test. The best way to further the research is to actively recruit others to take a big Y test. But you might also be lucky and have a new tester appear on your block tree. Future big Y testers can help clarify more recent connections with a refined terminal haplogroup. Or they can be more distantly related and help break up upstream blocks of mutations. Either way, they can significantly help advance your research. I would also recommend that you take a screenshot of your big Y block tree periodically, perhaps once or twice a year. Family Tree DNA's big Y block tree does not currently have the functionality to track changes over time. So the best way to do this yourself is to take screenshots and compare them periodically. I did precisely this in order to make this video. Has your big Y block tree changed over time? And how are you planning to further the Y-DNA research into your family? I'd love to hear about it in the comments. And If you're enjoying the series, be sure to like and subscribe. Let's keep decoding your Y-DNA together.